Our guide to developing CCTV for public safety in Victoria. Really, it is if you're considering applying for a CCTV project under the Public Safety Infrastructure Fund grant, it's really quite essential reading. The guide essentially goes through 7 steps for implementing and evaluating CCTV. Those 7 steps sort of describe 7 discrete activities that really should be followed. But that's not to say that those, activities can't be followed sort of concurrently. So this is not to say that, they should be isolated. So you really should be considering all the steps, as you're going through each one. The first step that we propose is to establish a working group. In doing so, we're suggesting that you're getting advice from different perspectives, and that is Victoria Police. We can't emphasise strongly enough a strong and positive relationship as far as Victoria Police and CCTV with councils is concerned. For those applying, we actually do require a letter of support from your local inspector. It's also important to note that Victoria Police have drafted a generic MOU, and I think that MOU has already sort of been in place. Some of you may have entered into that MOU with Victoria Police, but that MOU is specific to CCTV projects and partnership working with Victoria Police and local councils. It's important that you do get researchers and crime prevention strategists, finance officers, urban planners. As Peter was saying, there is a place for urban design as far as CCTV is concerned. And also it's important, to involve traders and local community groups. The second step that we're suggesting is, CCTV and your safety strategy. So again, we accept that CCTV is not necessarily the panacea or the solve-all for all crime prevention and crime detection. So it really should be applied as a suite of other measures. But the other thing is that we emphasise that you do a lot of pre-planning as far as CCTV projects is concerned, and I don't think we can emphasise this strongly enough. We're aware that other councils do actually communicate a fair bit with each other, so it'd be wise to actually converse with other councils who have actually used CCTV projects in similar circumstances and have a conversation with them about the challenges that they actually faced and how they actually overcame those challenges. The other thing that we suggest is that you contact Victoria Police. Now, it's important to sort of gather all this information and just provide yourself with or inform yourself with evidence of the crime that you seek to reduce, and a summary of the research of comparative projects, which might be from other councils, and also the results from public consultation to determine whether or not you've actually got support or otherwise from the community. And it's also important to acknowledge the costs involved. Let's say if the crime rate is actually low, it might be that CCTV was not necessarily the right response for that circumstance. So it's important that you actually consider all these things before moving ahead. Third step is assigning clear objectives. And in doing this is actually one of the Victorian Law Reform Commission's guiding principles, and that is that CCTV surveillance should be proportional to its means. And what that means is CCTV must be limited to a set of clearly defined purposes or objectives in identified areas. So we're again picking up on that VLRC recommendation and suggesting that you really are clear on the objectives, the actual issues that you are facing. And again, I raised that point that I mentioned before of, while this is step 3, it's important to link your objectives to the final evaluation that you'll also be conducting as well, and making sure that you're actually setting objectives and goals that can actually be measured and how you actually are going to measure them as well. CCTV, we do acknowledge that it's probably best and most effectively used in combination with other strategies, whether it's increased lighting, greater urban design, greater or increased security in the area as well. Consult with people. Again, it's key. And there's probably a bit of crossover as far as step 1 of establishing a working group, but when we're saying consulting with people here, I guess we're looking at the broader community, but we really are promoting being open, transparent, and actually involving the community. And again, it might go to that, mitigating that risk of allaying any fears or sense of anxiety within the community. And it might be that actually if you're comprehensive and with your consultation strategy, that you might actually be empowering your community. They may be more confident, they're aware that you're actually acting, they're aware of the way that you're acting, and that you are actually using CCTV, but also maybe other measures that complement the CCTV as well. You're providing the community with a sense of ownership. It's very important to show evidence of planning. As part of our funding agreement, we sort of built into the Public Safety Infrastructure Fund process or application process that it's a requirement that councils must provide evidence of community consultation or some sort of consultation plan. So that is actually a requirement of the actual application process and also the actual funding agreement itself. I should emphasise here that dot point as far as consulting utility companies, we have had a lot of feedback from councils who have used CCTV that liaising with infrastructure companies can be a very sort of vexed and complicated issue. It's important to get in early as far as that is concerned. The best CCTV system for your needs. What's key for this process, and we've had a lot of feedback from a number of councils as far as pre-planning is concerned. So it's key that you actually, it might involve, we strongly advise you to actually engage a security consultant or a CCTV specialist. And that might involve a tender process. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted when I say that tender processes can be, let's say, complicated sometimes and possibly time consuming as well. So for this reason, we're sort of suggesting that it's imperative that you really get onto that at the early stages of your project and actually consider engaging a CCTV or security consultant at the earliest stages as possible. Step 6 is the management of your CCTV systems. Data management is actually critical, and it goes back to those the Victorian Law Reform Commission's recommendations in regards to privacy. It's key to public confidence, really, that there's integrity as far as your system is being used and applied, and that the public is convinced of the responsible use as far as CCTV is concerned. So that's why we're very strong on promoting the use of standard operating procedures and also codes of conduct, which will sort of really express a council's commitment to the actual responsible use of CCTV. Finally, evaluating your CCTV system. As I mentioned, it's key. We are particularly cognizant of the criticisms of CCTV, and we know that there are, CCTV has its detractors out there. But one of the things that we are suggesting is that there are sort of ways to mitigate any deficiencies in CCTV, but there are also ways to build on that evidence base, because it might be that the evidence base to say it's a good thing or a bad thing is really inconclusive. So it's key to us to actually build on that evidence base to find out exactly when, where and how CCTV is actually a proven crime prevention and detection method. Evaluation is critical as well as far as public accountability. So you're actually reporting on how you're actually spending this money and again, the responsible use of CCTV.